we have Mark, who is role playing a man by his name with an alcohol problem. And we have Molly, who is role playing his daughter, who has come along to offer help. Right. Good. Welcome both. Molly, thank you very much for coming along. And Mark and I have been talking about how we're going to go forward with things. And Mark suggested that you would be a person who would be a good person to help. And he thought that you might be willing to help. The reason being that we know that people with alcohol problems who are trying to do something about them do much better with the support of their family and close friends, with the support of people around them who care about them, understand the problem and want to help. I think the first thing that we want to do is to decide where we're going with this. What are we aiming for? And so the first thing perhaps is to ask you, Mark, you've told us the history. I've seen the history, and you have now been off the alcohol for a number of days. And so before we get started with what things are going to be looking like, let's just have a conversation about what we are aiming for. And what are your thoughts about that?
Well, I think I've been drinking for quite a long time. I've had a few problems with my health, and I think I really need to make some serious reductions to my drinking. My doctor says that I can't go on like this. I'm going to make myself very poorly if I do that. So, yeah, I mean, I'd like to make some. I'd like to make some serious reductions, I think, to it.
Okay. So some serious reductions. Have you had a conversation with Molly about this? Or is this conversation, have you had a conversation with Molly?
We've talked about my drinking because Molly's been bothered about it for a long time. And she's been telling me to cut down for a long time.
Okay.
So yeah, we've talked about it, but we haven't come up with anything. We haven't got any clear plans of what we're doing yet.
Okay. So you've used the word reduction and you've used the word cutting down.
Yes.
Have you thought specifically what that would mean?
But in terms of how much?
Whether you would carry on drinking at all, and if so, how much?
It's very difficult to imagine stopping drinking altogether. I can't really envisage that. I can't imagine that. I mean, I've not had a drink for a few days.
What's that?
Well, I'm starting to feel a bit better physically now than I was when I first stopped, but I'm struggling a bit really, and I'm missing my friends in the pub, and
okay.
I'm missing having a drink. I'll be honest about it.
Right, and of course you're missing having a drink. You've been drinking, as you say, on a daily basis, and it's really become a very central feature in your life. And you're saying that you have started to feel better since you stopped drinking. Now, we need to really start by focusing on what is realistic. What is a realistic expectation? Molly, I wonder if you have a view, and it's perfectly all right for you to state what your view is, if it's different from Mark or if it's the same as Mark.
Well, obviously he's got a drinking problem and it's going to be hard to just stop drinking altogether. So maybe he could limit himself to 2 or 3 drinks in the week. Because obviously I don't expect, it's going to be really difficult to just stop altogether. But I want to help him as much as I can. I just want I want my dad here for a long time, and I'm worried about his health.
Okay. Let's just think about what is realistic. Let's think about what is possible and what is realistic. So if you're suggesting 2 or 3 drinks a week, or 2 or 3 drinks a couple of times a week, let's bring Mark in again here to think about. So there are 2 challenges there. There's the days, let's say that there are 5 days to start with where you're not going to have a drink at all. And there are 2 days where you're going to have a drink. And you're going to be really thinking about what you're going to do on the days you don't have a drink at all. So you're going to be doing things quite differently then. And then you're going to be thinking about this question about, if you're going to have drinking days, how are you going to control the amount of alcohol that you take on those days? Because you're talking about something very, very different to what you've been doing on your drinking days. What kind of challenges do you foresee?
Well, I think it's probably going to be, it's going to be hard to stick to it, I think. I don't know. You see, I've not really tried.
Okay. Okay. And when you're envisaging it's going to be hard to stick to it, what bit of those 2?
Well, I know that when I go out for a drink, once I've had a couple of drinks, I just want to keep going. I don't slow down. I just carry on until it's time to go home, really. So it's difficult imagining changing that, but I guess I'm going to have to do that if I'm going to get anywhere with it.
And to bring you back in, Molly, just to, I'm not sure how familiar you are with this, what Mark is discussing, but he's talking about a thing that happens when you have your first drink. And when you have your first drink, as I don't know if you drink alcohol, but it changes the way you think about things. It kind of lowers, doesn't it, your resistance. It makes it very difficult to stick to the resolve that you made when you weren't drinking. So, Mark, you're very right to bring this up as the challenge. This is something I have not done before, so I'm doing something completely new. And it's the added difficulty about it, of course, is that you have got the influence of alcohol going on inside you. So it's possible, given the extra difficulty of that, I'm wondering if we just try and separate out and think about the totally no drinking days, and then come back to thinking about whether the drinking days, how and whether we're going to introduce those. How does that sound?
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Yeah.
Tell me why you think it sounds like a good idea.
Well, it just sounds like a good starting place, and it sounds like that will probably be easier to deal with than the drinking days.
And Molly, what are your thoughts about it?
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. We've got to start somewhere, and yeah, I just think it's a good idea.
Good. So we're going to be thinking about what we would call total abstinence. In at least, we're thinking about it for the next few weeks and seeing how we get on. How does that sound?
Yes.
Yeah.